For years, Joram von Klaveren stood as a symbol of fierce opposition to Islam, until the very research meant to destroy it began to dismantle him instead. Joram van Klaveren had been one of the Netherlands' most vocal critics of Islam, a right-wing politician who had built his career on anti-Muslim rhetoric. Now, surrounded by stacks of research materials and half-filled notebooks, he stared at the words he had just written. Words that contradicted everything he had ever believed, everything he had ever stood for. The answer to his transformation lay in the very book he had set out to write, a book intended to condemn Islam that would instead lead him to embrace it. This is the extraordinary story of a man whose attempt to attack a faith became a journey of transformation, a journey that would shock his colleagues, his supporters, and most of all, himself. Born in the Netherlands in 1979, Joram van Klaveren grew up in a devout Protestant Christian household. His faith shaped his worldview, instilling in him a strong sense of right and wrong. As he entered politics, he found himself drawn to parties that championed traditional values and national identity. In 2010, van Klaveren was elected to the Dutch parliament as a member of Geert Wilder's Freedom Party, PVV. Known for its anti-immigration and anti-Islam stance. He quickly became one of the party's most recognizable figures, regularly appearing on television and in newspapers to criticize Islamic practices and warn about what he perceived as the Islamization of Europe. Islam is a threat to our way of life, he would declare during parliamentary debates. The Quran has no place in our society. His rhetoric was harsh, uncompromising, and popular among his base. To his supporters, he was a defender of Dutch values. To his critics, he was a divisive figure spreading hatred. For years, van Klaveren maintained this position, seemingly unshakable in his convictions. Then, in 2014, he left the Freedom Party following controversial remarks by Wilders about Moroccan immigrants. Though he distanced himself from Wilders, van Klaveren's views on Islam remained largely unchanged. He formed his own party, continuing to advocate for policies that would restrict Islamic practices in the Netherlands. In 2017, van Klaveren made a decision that would alter the course of his life. He embarked on an ambitious project, writing a book that would expose what he believed were the dangers of Islam. His goal was clear: to create a comprehensive critique that would cement his reputation as one of Islam's most informed critics. "I wanted to write the definitive case against Islam," he would later recall. "I was going to show everyone, once and for all, why this religion was incompatible with Western values." Van Klaveren approached the project with the thoroughness of a scholar. He immersed himself in Islamic texts, consulting various translations of the Quran, studying the Hadith, sayings of Prophet Muhammad, and reading works by both critics and defenders of Islam. He spoke with imams, scholars, and ordinary Muslims, initially to gather ammunition for his arguments. As weeks turned into months, something unexpected began to happen. The more he read, the more questions arose in his mind. Passages that he had previously taken out of context now appeared in a new light when he understood their historical background. Concepts he had dismissed as backward or dangerous revealed layers of meaning he had never considered. "I started finding answers to questions I had always had, even as a Christian," van Klaveren would later explain. "The coherence of the Quran's message, its emphasis on mercy and justice, these things began to resonate with me in ways I couldn't ignore." One evening, while reviewing his notes on the concept of Tawheed, the oneness of God, van Klaveren experienced a moment of clarity that shook him to his core. The Islamic understanding of God's absolute unity suddenly made profound sense to him, addressing theological questions that had troubled him throughout his Christian life. That night, he barely slept. His mind raced with thoughts and questions. Had he been wrong all these years? How could he have been so blind to the beauty of the very faith he had condemned? And most troublingly, what would this mean for his identity, his career, his relationships? Van Klaveren kept his growing doubts private. To the outside world, he was still working on his critical book about Islam. But inside, a profound transformation was taking place. The man who had once proposed banning the Quran now found himself drawn to its verses, studying them with an open heart rather than looking for flaws. His research shifted from seeking ammunition against Islam to seeking understanding. He began speaking with Muslims not as adversaries, but as fellow seekers of truth. Each conversation, each reading session, each moment of reflection drew him closer to a conclusion he had never anticipated. The turning point came when Van Klaveren was working on a chapter about misconceptions about Islam. As he wrote about the common criticisms, he realized that he no longer believed them himself. The arguments he had rehearsed countless times in Parliament and on television now seemed hollow, based on ignorance rather than understanding. I sat there looking at my computer screen, and it hit me. I was no longer writing a book against Islam. I was writing a defense of it, he would later share in interviews. The realization was both terrifying and liberating. For weeks, Van Klaveren wrestled with his conscience. His entire public persona, his political career, his relationships with colleagues and supporters, all were built on opposition to the very faith he now found himself drawn to. The internal conflict was agonizing. In late 2018, after months of study and soul-searching, Joram Van Klaveren made his decision. In the privacy of his home, with tears streaming down his face, he pronounced the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. The revelation of Van Klaveren's conversion in early 2019 sent shockwaves through Dutch society. The man who had once been one of Islam's fiercest critics had become a Muslim himself. Media outlets scrambled to cover the story. Political commentators expressed disbelief, and his former colleagues were stunned. Many questioned his sincerity, suggesting the conversion was a publicity stunt to sell books. Others accused him of betraying his supporters and his country. The backlash was intense, just as he had feared it would be. But amid the controversy, Van Klaveren found peace. For the first time in my life, I feel spiritually whole, he told a reporter who asked why he had made such a drastic change. I spent years attacking something I didn't understand. Now that I understand it, I can't deny its truth. His book, originally planned as an anti-Islam polemic, was completely rewritten and published under the title Apostate, From Christianity to Islam in the Time of Secular Terror. It documented his journey from critic to convert, explaining the misconceptions he had held and how his research had led him to the truth. The book sparked important conversations about Islam in the Netherlands and beyond. Many who had followed Van Klaveren's political career read it out of curiosity and found themselves challenged by his intellectual honesty and willingness to admit he had been wrong. In the years following his conversion, Van Klaveren dedicated himself to building bridges between communities. The skills that had once made him an effective politician, articulate speech, clear reasoning, and passionate conviction, now served him in explaining Islam to non-Muslims and combating the very stereotypes he had once promoted. My journey taught me the danger of speaking about things you don't truly understand, he would say during lectures at universities and community centers. I had strong opinions about Islam without ever having read the Quran with an open heart. How many of us do that? Condemn what we don't know. For Van Klaveren, the transformation was complete. The man who had once proposed banning mosques now prayed in them regularly. The politician who had warned about the Islamic threat now found in Islam a source of peace and guidance. The Christian who had viewed Muslims with suspicion now counted them among his closest friends. His story became a powerful reminder of the transformative power of knowledge and open-minded inquiry. It challenged people to examine their own prejudices and to seek understanding before judgment. Today, Joram von Klaveren continues to speak about his journey, not with embarrassment over his past, but with gratitude for the path that led him to truth. His life stands as testament to the idea that even the most firmly held beliefs can change when one has the courage to follow evidence and conscience wherever they lead. Sometimes, he often reflects, the thing you set out to attack becomes the very thing that saves you. My book against Islam never materialized. Instead, Islam rewrote me. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful journeys of transformation. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, and never stop seeking the truth.